Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Department of Toxic Substances Control, Exide Public Hybrid Meeting. Our meeting this evening is scheduled from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please note that all of our meeting materials are available in English and Spanish and are accessible at www.dtsc.ca.gov/Exide. Additionally, we would like to announce that audio interpretation devices are available for anyone who would like to listen to today's meeting in Spanish. Devices are available to check out near the entrance. Now we would like to start the evening by thanking the City of Huntington Park for allowing DTSC to use this space for tonight's meeting. We would like to thank Mayor Eduardo Martinez, Vice Mayor Jonathan Sanabria, Council Member Arturo Flores, Council Member Karina Macias, Council Member Nancy Martis, and DTSC would like to especially thank Director of Communications, Sergio Infanzon, for his assistance with the venue this evening. My name is Eric Mueller, and I serve as a Public Participation Specialist with the Office of Environmental Equity at the Department of Toxic Substances Control. I will pass the mic to my colleague to introduce herself.
Good evening. My name is Laura Castillo. I am a Public Engagement Manager with the Office of Environmental Equity at DTSC. Eric and I will be your facilitators this evening. For the community members joining us online, welcome. Please note that you should now be able to see tonight's PowerPoint presentation on your screen. Next slide, please.
Now we'd like to go over our meeting guidelines with you. We want you to be aware that by participating in this meeting, you understand that this meeting is being recorded. You may be muted for background noise if you're participating online. The chat feature will be used for DTSC informational purposes. Please pay close attention to the chat to receive important DTSC information, contact information, and updates. We will allow you additional time after the public meeting to obtain information posted in the chat. We ask that you limit your comments to allow everyone the opportunity to participate in person and online during the meeting. This Exide Public Hybrid Meeting will focus on sharing updates and foster a discussion with members of the Exide project community. We will invite feedback and answer questions on the residential cleanup, Exide facility, and other activities. You can also contact us with Exide questions by calling our hotline number 844-225-3887 or email us at exide@dtsc.ca.gov. Next slide, please.
For those participating virtually or by phone, to support language and captions this evening, simultaneous Spanish interpretation is available for this meeting. Click the globe interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen and select a language. It is important that everyone in this meeting select a language, either English or Spanish. For Spanish audio only by phone, please call 877-920-8432 and enter participant code 741502#. Presentation slides are available in Spanish at dtsc.ca.gov/Exide. Automated closed captions have been turned on for this meeting. You can turn them off by clicking the CC icon at the bottom of your screen or by moving the captions box. Please note that these captions are provided for convenience only and are not the official transcripts of this meeting. Next slide, please.
We would also like to acknowledge the elected officials and government agencies who represent the Exide community and our partners on the Exide Cleanup Project. If you are present today, if you can please stand up in person and or raise your hand online, and we can highlight and thank you for your attendance this evening. Valisa, do we have any online officials that you would like to be acknowledged?
Yes, Eric, we have Lizette Rosales. Please unmute your line and introduce yourself and state your affiliation.
Hi, good evening. Lisette Rosales, she, her pronouns. I'm with the Office of Mayor Karen Bass in the City of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Lizette. Next, we have Annette Trail. Please unmute your line and state your name and office.
Hello, good evening. My name is Annette Trejo. I serve as Environmental Deputy for First District Supervisor Hilda Solis.
Thank you, Annette. Eric, we have no further hands at this time.
Thank you, Valisa. Tonight's hybrid public meeting is being presented to you by the California Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Toxic Substances Control, also known as DTSC. Our mission is to protect California's people, communities, and environment from toxic substances, to enhance economic vitality by restoring contaminated land, and to compel manufacturers to make safer consumer products. Next slide, please. For our agenda this evening, we will begin with welcome remarks from Director Butler with the Department of Toxic Substances Control. Then Stephen Hariri, Exide Cleanup Branch Chief with DTSC, will provide updates on the Exide residential cleanup, parkways, and sampling. Dr. Jim Wells, Contract Manager with LEA Environmental Inc., will provide third-party monitor updates. And our final presentation this evening will be from Edwin Chip Polinelli, Assistant Director for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Region 9, on Exide's National Priorities List. Director Butler will deliver closing remarks to conclude our meeting this evening. Next slide, please.
Now that we have finished the agenda, we would like to welcome and introduce our DTSC staff and panelists for this evening. Starting with our DTSC staff, Catherine Butler, Director with the Department of Toxic Substances Control. Elizabeth Thanberg, Deputy Director with the Site Mitigation and Restoration Program. Serlene Grant, Deputy Director with the Office of Environmental Equity. Mehdi Betahar, Assistant Deputy Director with the Site Mitigation and Restoration Program. Stephen Hariri, Branch Chief with the Site Mitigation and Restoration Program. Edwin Chip Polinelli, Assistant Director of the U.S. EPA Region 9. Dr. James Wells, Contract Manager of LEA Environmental Inc. Also joining us today, we have our newly appointed Assistant Deputy Director with the Office of Environmental Equity, Jessica Ampa. Next slide, please. Now we would like to welcome and introduce Director Butler with the Department of Toxic Substances Control to do opening and welcome remarks. Dr. Butler, Director Butler.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's Exide public meeting. I really appreciate you spending time with us this evening. The purpose is for us to provide updates on the project and for us to listen to any feedback, answer questions, and maintain our commitment to be transparent with the public throughout this entire cleanup process. As I was driving here tonight, I was reflecting, we are entering the 9th year of Exide residential cleanup. And as we reflect upon that, I want to express my immense gratitude to two special groups of people, the community members and the workers. Thank you for making this possible. It's been an extremely long road to get here, and we're still not done, but we've accomplished so much. Over 6,000 residential properties have been cleaned. And I want us to stay grounded in why we're here, and we continue to be here until this job is done. Each of those homes that's cleaned means we are removing the lead exposure, the potential health impacts to little ones, to pregnant women, to family members who live in that home. And not just for the people who live there now, but restoring that land, that backyard for generations to come. So again, thank you. I am deeply grateful to the community for being patient with us, DTSC, along the way. There were many times where we got it wrong, and now we're learning from those times, and I'm very proud of our DTSC team for all the progress we've made and the work we continue to do. So tonight you're going to hear updates on where we're at. Last community meeting, we heard loud and clear from the public that you were interested in seeing the verification results, some of the retrospective sampling that's been going on. We don't have those results today, but we have more clarity in when they'll be available, and they're going to be available soon. So we'll start to provide more information tonight on that sampling effort, so we can continue to be transparent with you all. Thank you to our partner at US EPA for coming tonight to provide an update as well. And I invite you again to ask questions, provide your comments. We will be listening, we will be taking notes. If we can't answer them tonight, we will get back to you all with answers. So thank you again for taking the time. And I'll pass it on to Mr. Hariri for the next.
Thank you, Director Butler. Next slide, please. Now we would like to introduce Stephen Hariri, Exide Cleanup Branch Chief with DTSC, who will provide updates on the Exide residential cleanup. Stephen?
Thank you, Director Butler. Good evening. My name is Stephen Hariri, Branch Chief for the Exide Residential Project from the California Department of Toxic Substances Control. We are here tonight providing an update on the Exide residential cleanup and milestones, as well as the parkways. Next slide, please. We'll start with the status of the residential cleanup. Next slide, please. Thank you. As a recap, this map presents the preliminary investigation area where our cleanup efforts are active. The preliminary investigation area includes the 7 jurisdictions outlined. The area includes the cities of Commerce, Los Angeles, Maywood, Bell, Huntington Park, Vernon, and an unincorporated area in the county of Los Angeles. Next, please. This graph shows the progress of our cleanup efforts from May 2018 through January of this year. The solid green line shows our steady progress to date, the number of properties cleaned up, and the orange dotted line shows our projected number of parcels to be cleaned up. Furthermore, the work continues despite interruptions from COVID in 2020, smoke from nearby wildfires, and a new contractor selection in 2023. Next, please. This slide presents the residential cleanup progress. The preliminary investigation area includes approximately 10,000 sensitive land use parcels. These parcels are comprised of single and multi-family residential properties, schools, parks, daycares, and child care facilities. As of January 23, 2026, a total of 6,019 properties have been cleaned up. 139 schools, parks, and daycares cleaned up. 10,028 parcels or decision units have been sampled, and a remaining 569 parcels not sampled because homeowners have not provided access. Next, please. DTSC was awarded $70 million in 2025 California budget. Consequently, DTSC was able to lower the priority threshold set at 190 parts per million to 155 parts per million for lead, and extended the cleanup operations in the field to the end of this year with 15 field crews. DTSC is committing all funding to continue the residential cleanup with an estimated 500 more properties for the cleanup effort. Next, please. We would like to reassure the field workforce that DTSC has made all efforts to continue the work in the field until the end of this year. This chart presents the workforce for the residential and completed parkways cleanup, denoted in green and yellow respectively. Last year, we focused most crews on the parkways to fulfill our commitment to the 6 jurisdictions, with an increase in the number of crews. Now that the parkways have been completed, we have continued the residential cleanup with 15 crews, denoted by the black dotted line, since January. Next, please. We have been tracking our contractors' compliance with the project labor agreement, and the reported actuals percentages are currently exceeding the hiring goals established in the project labor agreement. Next, please. We will now discuss the verification retrospective sampling programs. Next. In response to the Exide Technologies Advisory Group members' request and input, DTSC developed a verification retrospective sampling program to revisit current and previously cleaned up properties with sampling that started in April of last year. DTSC will continue and looks forward to this collaboration with the working group. The main objective of both sampling programs were as follows. Was the cleanup conducted according to the cleanup plan? Did the import clean soil used for backfill meet the requirements of the cleanup plan? Are the sampling results reproducible? And did the cleanup meet the objectives of the cleanup plan? Next, please. As a recap, the main objectives of the cleanup plan are to clean up sensitive land use properties protective of public health and the environment, protect the current and future health of the residential population from lead exposure in soil, minimize the need for land use controls, and minimize short-term adverse impacts to the residential community due to fugitive dust and soil transport. Next, please. This slide presents all the properties available for consideration, denoted by different colors for work conducted during different phases and contractors. Next, please. The verification sampling program includes approximately 1,375 properties comprising of 350 previously cleaned up properties by NEC in the last amendment and 1,025 by Parsons. The sampling proposes a similar protocol to that of the initial sampling conducted at sites to provide an apples-to-apples comparison. Next, please. The retrospective sampling properties selected were determined statistically and/or randomly from the pool of remaining properties cleaned up previously by all contractors, exclusive of those from the verification sampling. The sampling proposes a similar protocol to that of the initial sampling conducted at the site for an apples-to-apples comparison. Lastly, at the request of the Exide Technology Advisory Group Technical Advisor, 4 properties, 2 initial sampling and 2 cleaned up properties will be selected for additional reproducibility sampling respectively. Next, please. This slide presents the progress of the verification and retrospective sampling. As of February, the sampling of 524 properties for verification sampling and 100 properties for retrospective sampling has been completed. DTSC anticipates that the sampling reports will be available in March and publicly released in batches as they are completed. Next, please. We'll now discuss the status of the parkways. Next. The parkways cleanup included the excavation of contaminated soil and backfill with clean certified fill. The backfill soil was carefully compacted to prevent damage to utility lines or jurisdictional sidewalks, curbs, streets, or trees, with topsoil added at the end to allow for restoration material as required by each individual jurisdiction permit. Please note the parkways that did not exceed the cleanup level thresholds were not excavated and remain in their original condition. Next, please. Based on jurisdictional requirements and participation, restoration material may include in-kind replacement with sod for existing grass and/or hydroseed for bare earth areas, Furthermore, DTSC worked in cooperation with the cities to promote the Urban Forest Management Plan effort currently underway. Notice was provided to the properties within a week prior to the application of sod or hydroseed for the parkways. The responsibility for the maintenance and care of landscaping in the parkway rests with the jurisdiction and the respective property owner. The hydroseed application, as shown in the picture above in the right corner, will result in grass only if watered and maintained as recommended. Next, please. As of January 8th, we have completed all of the eligible parkways in the north and south of the preliminary investigation area. We thank you all for your cooperation and understanding in reaching the milestone this past year. Please report outstanding issues regarding the parkways cleanup through the hotline or online. Next, please. Lastly, we track both of our parkway contractors' compliance with the project labor agreement, and the reported actual percentages exceeded the hiring goals established in the project labor agreement. Next, please. DTSC would like to thank all the community members for their continued support, attendance, and participation tonight. As always, we would like to thank all the residents that have signed up for the cleanup and welcomed us into their homes. Likewise, we would like to thank the same residents who have been very gracious, patient, and understanding regarding the cleanup of the parkways located directly outside their homes. We're also very grateful to all the field workers who continue to keep this project going every day. For those field workers who are attending this meeting tonight, please extend our sincere gratitude and thanks to your colleagues as well. Lastly, we thank you all for your time and attention during this presentation. If you have any questions, please contact me directly. I hope you have a great evening.
Next slide, please. Great. Thank you, Stephen. We will now move on to our clarifying questions and comments section. Please remember that you will be given 2 minutes to allow everyone an opportunity to speak. There are various ways you can make a comment or ask a question this evening. In person, by raising your hand, and when chosen, one of our staff members will bring the microphone to you to speak for 2 minutes. If you are participating on Zoom, you can use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen, and you will be invited to unmute your audio when it's your turn to speak. If you are on your phone, you can press *9 to join the phone queue, and we will read the last 3 digits of your phone number, and you can then press *6 to unmute your line. If you called in on our Spanish bridge line and would like to ask a question, please notify the Spanish interpreter. Our Spanish interpreters are available to translate your questions and comments. And lastly, you can complete a questions and answer card and submit it to any of our DTSC staff members with a name badge. Now we will transition to the public questions and comment period. First, we will start with questions or comments from our in-person attendees. Please raise your hand and someone will come with you with a microphone. Josh? Okay. Or Melissa? Okay. We don't have any, we will now read a few public comment cards. Dion, do we have a few not yet? Thank you, Dion. We will now go to the virtual portion of tonight's meeting. Valisa, do we have any online attendees with questions or comments?
Yes, Laura. We have Janet Valenzuela. Please unmute your line and ask your question.
Hi, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I really wish I was there in person, but I have really bad allergies. Living in a EJ community does that to you. Well, good afternoon. My name is Janet Valenzuela. I am a community member of this community as well as a former Exide worker through the work program. I started in 2024. I was the only woman who made and finished the labor training school boot camp out of a group of 43 men. I started with the Exide cleanup project as a union member in September of 2024, and I worked up until December 2025. So my comment today is to raise some questions about the prioritization being made for this contract to hire more community workers who already meet the qualifications. The Exide residential cleanup has and continues to be carried by the involvement and participation of the community. And this is no different on the labor front as well. And as part of the advocacy that we've been so successful around creating the work program, it has been because the project has had so many areas of improvement, especially around communication. But whenever I see the newsletters that DTSC publishes, you always seem to highlight the work program. And I think it's because the work program does speak volume around how we uphold the integrity of this project. And there's also a sentimental value attached to this, right? That the community who has to carry the burden of the contamination should also be the ones benefiting from the jobs that this project offers. So just reflecting back on what Butler said, right, why we're here, it's definitely to remove lead exposure and improve public health, but it's also to make sure that we uphold a lot of the demands that were made by the community when fighting for the shutdown of the industry. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet, for your comment. We will allow our panelists to respond.
Thank you, and I will defer to Mehdi. Mehdi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Janet. I think in order to answer your question, I need to go back in time, 2017 exactly, when the PLA was negotiated with the union. My way also to acknowledge the presence of some of the Exide Technology Advisory Group. I see Mark, I see other members who are present, who argued very hard so that the community can be part of this work. And we partner with the union, namely Local 300, who is present here with us. I see Ernesto and his team. We worked hand in hand into preparing that project labor agreement. The project labor agreement has certain component in it. We have seen the 4 categories of people, and we ask our contractor to comply with those numbers. That is important. We have to comply and meet those targets. With that said, in 2024, we have added about 18 new graduates to help us with the parkways. And this was an opportunity for us, not for us. This was a way for us to provide an opportunity for the community to find jobs on Exide to begin with, but then transition and work with the union to find additional work as necessary. We have communicated with the union, we have worked with the contractor to make sure that if and when the parkways are completed, the workers go back to the union hall and work on additional training, for instance, to get more experience or get dispatched in additional jobs. And being that the union is here with us, I don't know, Ernesto, if you wanted to add anything else, but I think most importantly, it was important to put things in the context of time and acknowledge those who really made sure that the community, certain members of the community, had found a solid job since 2018, all the way to today. And again, the new promotion that graduated in 2024. My way also to thank the county, who has funded some of that effort and who is relying on these workers basically to join the workforce, if not on Exide, on other jobs. Ernesto?
Yes, thank you, Mehdi, and on behalf of my colleagues here from Local 300. As many of you know, we started this project back in 2017, but as part of the first phase, we trained up, God, it was probably 70 to 80 new workers, what we called work program graduates. There's a lot that have left since and are no longer part of the project, but as we were preparing for the parkways and they were increasing the need for manpower and the work, we ended up training another cohort. So ultimately, we have a mixture of old work graduates that were part of the very first batch that came in and new work graduates. So ultimately, what we've seen is there's been a transition where through the cycles we've had layoffs, and we've always offered, that was the whole purpose of this, getting new workers in, making them members, and putting them on a career path as laborers. In fact, like Fernando, who's here, Joshua, we have a lot of members that have been with us for so long. They've actually now vested, they have a pension. Many of them, like Fernando and other workers, have worked 4,000 plus hours at Exide, so now they don't even have to go through the traditional program of apprenticeship to be able to roll over as what we call environmental journey workers. They can now go get trained in other things that laborers do, like concrete, asphalt, demolition, all kinds of things we do as regular journey persons in our trade. And that was the goal. The goal was to create pathways for everybody participating. And Janet is wonderful, and she's a wonderful worker, but we can't control the work, right? And Medi knows, because we stay in touch, we as a union have lobbied the governor for more funding for this project. That was part of getting the 70 million, is working through, like, for example, our previous assembly member, Miguel Santiago, who was a huge advocate of this project. We went to Mark Gonzalez, who helped us get this funding as well, the 70 million. So we're always advocating because we want to make sure that there's more work and we can get more people in. But the reality is, since there's less money, a lot of the work has already been completed, the contractor has filled his requirements based on the project labor agreement. There's just no way to have all of the work graduates that were there originally, plus local hire workers, some of our members who qualify as local hire workers, to continue to work on the project. We started getting the questions about this, and we worked with the contractors to make sure they were in compliance with the rules under the project labor agreement.
Thank you, Ernesto. And thank you, Medi. Thank you, Janet. Felisa, I will hand it back to you.
Yes, we have another hand raised from Carolina. Carolina, please unmute your line and ask your question. Carolina, are you there?
Muy buenas noches. Mi nombre es Carolina Sánchez, soy residente de Maywood y quiero expresar mi preocupación. Hace 2 semanas trabajaron en mi propiedad. En una ocasión escuché a los trabajadores que estaban preocupados porque ICE andaba cerca de la área. Sentí que había un riesgo que se violentara el ambiente tranquilo que existía en el área donde vivo. Si en algún momento ICE hiciera detenciones con los trabajadores de su compañía, porque tengo familiares y vecinos en similares condiciones, porque yo suponía que los trabajadores son parte de alguna unión. Entonces, quiero decir que esta unión contrata a gente sin documentos legales. Porque si es así, entonces cada casa donde trabajan se pone en riesgo a la gente, vecinos que están en esas condiciones similares. Y por última cosa, también quería comentar que en ciertas ocasiones pude escuchar a trabajadores que estaban platicando de una forma inapropiada, con malas palabras. En este caso, yo tengo un niño pequeño. Al principio asumimos que ellos estaban discutiendo porque estaban expresándose de una manera muy grosera, casi gritando también. Ellos sabían que había gente, que estaba la familia en ese momento ahí. Pensamos que estaban peleando.
Disculpe, Carolina, ya hemos llegado a los 2 minutos para dejar a otros. Ahorita vamos a traducir lo que usted dijo. Madeline, por favor.
Okay, so my name is Carolina I live in Maywood, and I want to talk about what's been going on in the past 2 weeks. The workers were very concerned because of the ICE presence in the neighborhood, and this puts people at risk. And so if the union has workers that are undocumented, that puts every house at risk. And also, a lot of people were saying bad words. They were screaming, and I have little kids around, so that was inappropriate.
Thank you, Madeline. Okay, we are now, we have a response from Ernesto. Ernesto, please go ahead.
Yes, Carolina, thank you for that comment. Y si me lo pueden traducir para ella, por favor. For us, we're laborers. Majority of our workers are Latinos. They come from the working class communities in and around the county of Los Angeles. We can't control what ICE thinks or does. We actually had a member who was working at Exide that was detained and taken in and sent to Miami, who was let go, but he was here legally. I have a member that's still in detainment and has been so since March, who is a citizen. We have up to 5 or 6 members that were deported. They are here legally. They had work permits. We can't control what ICE does. And the thing is half the time we find out after the fact. So we have gone through our members, their rights, and what to do when this happens. But a lot of times, like for example, the member that was working at Exide was on his lunch break, and they took him in during one of these raids. There's nothing we can do, but we're trying. Our international has now hired legal counsel to help with habeas corpus proceedings and bail hearings. We're trying to help as best we can, but there's nothing we can do. When they come into the union, they have a valid work permit or social security card. We're not the employer. We don't e-verify. That's all we ask for. So ultimately, everybody is at risk, whether you're a citizen or not. U.S. Supreme Court has said it. If you look brown, speak a different language, you are now, they can come after you and talk to you and detain you. That's nothing, none of us can do, citizen or not. So our people need to keep working, and we have had some members that have chosen not to, have chosen not to come back in and put themselves on the out of work list for that reason, but we can't control that. We can only do what we can, and we are trying to work with them as best as we can. Our international's trying to work with our U.S. senators and Congress members to help in those conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernesto. We will now go,
All right.
oh, I'm sorry, Mehdi, please go ahead.
Similarly, I would say that DTSC does not control what's happening. This is, I should say, some type of odd time we're living. But we have instructed our contractors to make sure that all the safety measures are in place. That includes that the workers feel comfortable being at work. And if they don't feel comfortable being at work, we have seen it. Some people have decided to stay at home until the calm is restored. Those people have the right to come back to their positions. They're not being terminated. So we have worked with both the union and the contractor to make sure that these safety conditions are in place. We understand it, but there is nothing we could do at this point. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mehdi, and thank you, Valisa. We will now go to take a few in-person questions. And Dion?
Hola, buenas noches. Soy Irma López. Soy promotora de Comunidades por un Mejor Ambiente y quisiera mencionar que a pesar del progreso que el DTSC está logrando en la limpieza de la comunidad, yo sigo preocupada porque sabemos que existen inquilinos que viven en edificios multifamiliares y cuyas propiedades no se han limpiado. ¿Qué otras medidas están tomando DTSC para hablar con los propietarios y lograr que permitan la limpieza en estas propiedades, por favor.
Okay. Okay, we had a slight technical problem here, so we're going to ask her to repeat what she was saying. Tiene que repetir lo que estaba diciendo, lo sentimos.
I can translate.
Mi nombre es Irma López.
My name is Irma Lopez.
Soy promotora con Comunidades por un Medio Ambiente Mejor.
I'm a promoter with the Communities for a Better Environment.
Quisiera mencionar que a pesar del progreso que DTSC está logrando en la limpieza de las comunidades, sigo preocupada
And I want to say that despite the progress that's been made by DTSC in the community, that I am concerned
porque sabemos que hay inquilinos que viven en los edificios multifamiliares cuyas propiedades no se han limpiado.
because we know that there are people that are living in multi-family dwellings and their properties have not been cleaned.
Quisiera saber qué otras medidas están tomando el DTSC para hablar con los propietarios
And I'd like to know what DTSC is doing to be able to speak with the owners
y lograr que permitan la limpieza de estas propiedades, por favor.
and to permit the cleaning of those properties. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. We are looking at all the options at this point to access properties that are occupied by tenants. I can tell you that we're not giving up. When you look at the total number of properties that we sampled, there is about over 10,000 properties that have been sampled. The remaining is about 500 some that we're trying to access. As far as the cleanup, it's a little more complicated, I agree with you. But we do make the difference between properties occupied by owners and properties occupied by tenants. For the property occupied by tenant, we're looking at every single tool in our box to make sure that we have access, including enforcement. It's not off the table. Because we want to make sure that the tenants not only are aware of the risks due to exposure to lead, and as you know, we have made all the reports available online. Every report for every property that we have sampled is now available online. But we also want to make sure that the owner is conveying the information, or we are conveying the information to the tenant directly. But again, all the options are on the table. We're not walking away now. We're looking at all the options, and we will share with you more maybe in the next meeting or the meeting after. But we are looking at all options, including enforcement.
Thank you, Mehdi. And Josh, we'll take one more in-person comment.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm here as a community member from 90063. I just want to raise some concerns, and I guess I'll start with asking you, Laura, if you were involved as you were when Todd was here and you were going through the verification of employees to make sure that people weren't gaming the system, as Ernesto and Luis and I had agreed that it was happening. Did that happen this time?
I have only provided what was done the last round, as far as IDs and 2 forms of bills.
That happened this time again?
This time around, as in?
As in, right now that they transitioned and eliminated people, whoever they kept. Whatever's on the paper, is that reflecting what you said?
I haven't, no.
So I just want to shine some light on that, because that was one of Todd's biggest things, was to be very transparent. And I think that's what's created a good relationship with East Yards, Mark, myself, everybody in the committee. And I think it's important for Luis and Ernesto to have communication with East Yards, to have communication with yourself, because we know, because Ernesto and Luis and the union, we were all involved in meetings where we agreed that the contractor that uses and puts people that do game the system. And that was what was beautiful about it before. And your role was very critical on that because people were going through you first before the contractor just picked and choose. I know time is limited, so I'll just be short, but I think it's very important to say that it's interesting how DTSC gets to pick and choose who comes. It's interesting to see how Parsons has people that have been in the project for 9 years. Interesting how AIS has been the subcontractor for all this, and they get to pick and choose who they want. And the only ones that are eliminated is the community. And I'll just ask to eliminate nepotism, favoritism, and find a way where we all can be happy, because I think it's important. I think we owe it to the community to make sure that everything is being done fair. That's all. I know it's not legal, but we have a moral obligation to uphold what Todd left behind, because that's what created true transparency, is what created this relationship that's been working so far. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then now we are going to, we'll have another set of public comments. Oh, Ernesto, please go ahead.
I wanted to respond to Pete. The work program is based on everybody and anybody completed work. Whether they've changed addresses since, whatever it may be, they were work. We've always said that. We told you and Mark back then, you can't negate that they went through the program. So what, for all fairness, are we to say anybody that did the work program this last time should have priority over the first batches that did it? We can't say that, because that's not right either, right? And so as long as the contractors are maintaining work graduates and are following the percentage guidelines, there's nothing we can do. I have asked, I've said, if anybody has proof that the contractor is not following the guidelines, let us know. I have said it. I've told several members. I've told Fernando, I've told Chuy Ortiz. I said, hey, we're here to help. We asked the contractor for the list of the workers that were held. The thing is people weren't let go, laid off, and then brought back brand new. Contractors have the right to say, hey guys, we're not gonna work during the holidays. We're just gonna take a few days off and then we're gonna call you back. They have the right to do that. That's not called a firing, that's not called a layoff, that's called we're taking a break. And then it rained at the beginning of the year, so they were never officially laid off. That's the same crew that's there now, because we were getting the complaints and we wanted to make sure, trust me, we went through every name and we checked. But if you guys have proof, let us know and we'll go after them, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. We do have another public comment section, but we must continue and to keep up with time.
There's Mark Lopez who's.
Okay, sorry.
Just to kind of, I think, hopefully put a bow on it and then hear more from folks after. Something that I specifically requested from DTSC was year-over-year percentages of work graduates who have been participating as part of the workforce. Because as we know, there's been a huge reduction in the amount of crews. And so obviously that means there's going to be a lot of people who are not working. But what I've been hearing from a lot of work graduates and other community members who have been working, who didn't go through the work program but have been working for years, is that they feel that they've been targeted and not brought back. I definitely understand that some of the folks who were working before weren't laid off and have kind of kept going through, but a lot of folks also experienced crews being reassembled. And kind of, so what it comes across as is that there was preemptive moves so that then that claim could be made later. And so we're still waiting for the data to see if year over year, we might be the exact same percentage. And then nothing can be said about that. Or what the fear is that there's been a huge reduction because work participants are some of the most trained and some of the most outspoken. That's a fear. Me personally, I need to see the data to understand what the situation is, but I think in the meantime, there can be and should be an ongoing conversation.
Thank you, Mark. Okay.
And,
We
and,
will.
and probably very quickly, Mark, we are going to give you that data. I know you requested it, I believe, last week. So definitely we're working on it.
Thank you, Mehdi. We will now move on to questions and answers on the Zoom. Colette, are there any questions on the Zoom Q&A?
Good evening, Laura. At this time, there are no questions available on Zoom.
Okay, thank you, Colette. Now we will transition to the Spanish Bridge line. Madeline, is there anyone on the line with a question or comment?
We're not hearing. No, we do not have any. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madeline. Thank you, everyone, for your questions and comments. We will now transition back to the presentation. Next slide, please.
Now we would like to welcome Dr. Jim Wells, Contract Manager for LEA Environmental Inc., who will be providing an update on third-party monitoring. Dr. Wells.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Wells, and I'm an environmental scientist with LEA Environmental, and our company runs the third-party monitor program for the Exide residential and parkway cleanup. As many of you know, I've been active on this project for many years, having also served as the technical advisor to ETAG since about 2015. Next slide, please. So everybody here probably knows, but just by way of recap, Exide third-party monitors conduct unannounced independent inspections of the residential and parkway cleanup activities, as well as occasional inspections of the verification sampling program. This program is funded by the state of California through DTSC, but it's not directed by DTSC. Next slide, please. So really, the third-party monitor program is a component of an enhanced quality control for the Exide cleanup that was expressed in response to concerns from ETAG and from the community. So DTSC made a commitment to a bigger and a better quality control program for the cleanup contract that began in 2024. So our goal is to document contractor compliance with project operations plans and health and safety plans. And so the whole idea is that we're doing our part to encourage thorough cleanups and safe cleanups. Next slide, please. How does it work? Our inspectors are out in the field every day, observing cleanup activities. To ensure consistency of these observations, we use electronic checklists to evaluate critical components of the operation plans and the health and safety plans. Next slide, please. I don't know if you all can read that, but to date, we have conducted about 4,100 inspections. This includes about 1,300 parkway inspections. And I was just thinking that Stephen told us that there were 1,400 parkway cleanups. So we almost got to every one, but not quite every single one. And in the last 2 years, about 2,800 residential inspections, plus a handful of inspections of the verification sampling program. So we report our findings on a weekly basis to DTSC. We report on a bi-weekly basis to the ETAG working group. And DTSC, in turn, works with remediation contractor to correct recurring issues, the whole idea being to, at the very least, maintain the consistency of the cleanup and hopefully to improve the cleanup over time. Next slide, please. I showed a version of this graph, I think, at the last public meeting, and it's been updated with data from late last year. So this graph shows the number of non-compliance observations that we've made in three main categories over the span of the 2 years that this program has been active. And because some months have more activity than others, because parkways go faster than others, the absolute numbers of these observations is probably a little misleading. So the dashed line that I've put on this graph is actually normalized to a very simple test of how many non-compliance observations are we seeing per site, per inspection. And that's expressed on the right y-axis, which is probably hard to read, but let me show you this. This y-axis. So starting back in early 2024, we were seeing on average about 1.5 non-compliance observations. And I'm not expressing any judgment. There are possibly more important non-compliance observations than others, but this is just strictly the data. So we were seeing early on about 1.5 non-compliance observations per inspection. That number on average declined over the course of 2024. And then what we've really seen over the course of last year is it kind of leveled out, kind of plateaued at between 1/2 and 0.75. So the number of non-compliance observations have decreased by about a factor of 2 between 2024, 2025, and it seems to have kind of plateaued at that level. Next slide. So members of ETAG recently asked me to get a little bit more granular with this data analysis, and I'm a data guy, so I like doing that. So we put together a month-to-month trend analysis over the last year. And first of all, I'll show you, here's a tally of the inspections that our folks performed last year. This is actually very similar to a graph that Stephen showed of the number of work crews that were working on first residential cleanups and then parkway cleanups. What I'm showing here is that the residential cleanups slowed down, parkway cleanups sped up over the course of last year, and that's reflected in our inspection records. This is a graph of just the number of inspections of both residential and parkway cleanups that were performed each month of last year. So next slide, please. Because those cleanup projects differ so much, I'm going to talk about specific findings from residential and parkway cleanups separately. For residential cleanups, this is the list of the top categories of non-compliance observations that we made last year. I don't need to read them out to you, but you can see that there's kind of a mixture of health and safety issues, dust issues, soil track-off issues. Next slide. So how about trends? These are those same issues of the monthly trends for those inspection items. And these are shown, once again, not as absolute numbers, but presented as the percent of inspections each month in which this issue was flagged. So the very highest is early in the year, one of these issues was flagged at about 20% of our inspections. And then you can see that they kind of plateau, and I don't know if you can read that level, but on the y-axis, but kind of plateau at between 5 and 10%. Not including months later in the year, because there were just fewer and fewer residential cleanups later in the year, and it's really just wouldn't be statistically significant. So this is kind of the residential picture of the sorts of noncompliance issues that we're still flagging in 2025. Next slide. Parkways are a little different. A lot more observations relating to soil track-off, relating to dust in the air. But if we take a look at the next slide, this again shows a graph of those trends on a month-to-month scenario. Again, these data are normalized to the percent of inspections each month in which this issue was flagged. So what you can see here is that somewhere between 5 and 20% of the parkway inspections had one or another of these issues flagged each month. And I'm going to wrap up with a couple graphs that combine the parkway inspections and the residential inspections. So if we could go to the next slide, please. This is the question of visible dust. That's not exactly an air quality permit requirement, but basically these activities shouldn't be producing visible dust in the air. And this graph shows the trends of visible dust observed in both residential and parkway inspections over the course of last year. You can see that the numbers rise toward the middle of the year. I don't know for sure, but to me, I think this might be a seasonal effect. It's drier in the summer. There's no rain at all. Kind of makes sense to me that we'd be seeing more dust in the summer months. But this is the kind of thing, in addition to being a day-to-day quality control element to this cleanup project, this is another thing that this body of data that we have now can help us with is, are there trends that we can be cognizant of? Are there trends where some things are improving and other things aren't? We can start to ask those kind of questions now that we have been at this for a while. And I'll show you another slide, and that'll kind of be the end of the data analysis. If we can go to the next one. This one is kind of a similar issue. It's soil track-off. Are we seeing soil on the street? Are trucks coming or going, tracking soil away from the work zone? Once again, you see kind of a different trend between the residential cleanups and the parkway cleanups. The residential cleanups show a nice downward trend over the course of the year. That's what we would hope to see. Parkways, a little bit of a different story. They kind of rise toward the fall and then begin to decline. I don't actually, once again, I don't really know the cause of these trends, but I don't actually think this one is seasonal. I think this one might just have to do with the nature of parkway cleanups. The parkway cleanups, you know, every single bit of a parkway cleanup is no more than a couple feet from the street. So it's easier for soil to get tracked off into the street as opposed to a residential where, you know, half the cleanup's in the backyard. So I think this might be a consequence of, I guess you might say, the geometry and the very tight working environment of the parkway cleanups. And I will conclude with the next slide and just say that I want to close by saying that the third-party monitor program is meant to be a resource for all of us, for the community. It's meant to be a resource for DTSC. If you have questions or concerns about how this program is working and how we're reporting out our observations, would be, you know, extremely happy to hear from you. So with that, I will say thank you and be happy to take comments or questions.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. Next slide, please. We will now move on to our clarifying questions and comments section. Please remember that you'll be given 2 minutes to allow everyone an opportunity to speak. There are various ways that you can make a comment or ask a question this evening. In person, by raising your hand, and when chosen, one of our staff members will bring the microphone to you to speak for 2 minutes. If you're participating on Zoom, you can use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. You will be invited to unmute your audio when it's your turn to speak. If you are on your phone, you can press *9 to join the phone queue. We will read out the last 3 digits of your phone number, and you can then press *6 to unmute your line. If you're called on the Spanish bridge line or would like to ask a question, please notify the Spanish translator. Our Spanish interpreters are available to translate your questions and comments. And lastly, you can complete a Q&A card and submit it to any DTSC staff member with a name badge. Now we will transition to the public question or comments period. First, we will start with questions or comments from an in-person attendees. Please raise your hand and someone will come to you with the microphone.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Gilberto Gordillo. Oh, ok. Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Mi nombre es Gilberto Gordillo.
My name is Gilberto Guardillo.
Yo tengo 7 años trabajando en el proyecto de Exide.
I've been working for 7 years on the Exide project.
Ahorita estoy desempleado.
Right now I am unemployed.
Estoy entendiendo a los de la Unión
I'm understanding what the people from the union are saying.
que están mandando a trabajadores nuevos al proyecto,
They're sending new workers to the project.
pero nosotros somos una mayoría de la comunidad y del programa que tenemos como yo 7 años o algunos hasta más.
But we are the original people and we've been working, some of us, 7 years or more.
Y pues ahorita estamos fuera.
And right now we're out.
Yo siento como que nos están haciendo a un lado
I think that they're putting us off to the side
porque ha habido incidentes de los trabajadores de la comunidad
because there have been incidents with the community workers
que no hacen lo que algún lead les manda hacer,
that don't do what a lead person has them do.
que está fuera de los protocolos
They're beyond the protocols
en lo que se refiere al control de calidad que dijo el señor.
with respect to quality control, as the man said.
Nosotros en la comunidad estamos conscientes de que el trabajo tiene que ser bien hecho
We in the community know that the work has to be done well,
y sabemos el protocolo a seguir.
and we know what protocol has to be followed.
Si traen personas que apenas están empezando,
They're bringing in people that are just starting.
lo único que pasa es que todo lo que le mande el lead lo tienen que hacer.
So the only thing that they do is that whatever the lead tells them that they have to do, that's what they have to do.
En cambio, nosotros de la comunidad, por lo menos yo, en cada casa que trabajamos,
But those of us who are from the community, at each house where we work,
trabajamos haciendo la limpieza como si fuera mi casa.
we are doing the work as if it was my own house.
Las personas que vienen de otras regiones,
The people who come from other regions
o las personas, o los trabajadores nuevos,
or the new workers,
ellos vienen nomás por cumplir
they
su
just come.
trabajo y no importa cómo quede.
They just come to do their work and they don't care about it in the long run.
Entonces, por eso siento que nos están dejando a un lado a los de la comunidad o a los del programa.
So I think that the people in the program are pushing us out.
Ahora, escuché de la unión que ellos no tienen E-Verify.
And I heard from the union that they do not have E-Verify.
Me imagino que deberían de tener,
I would think that they need to have it.
porque yo puedo decir que hay personas que están trabajando con el mismo nombre
But-
dos veces. O sea,
Because I know that there are people who are working with the same name twice.
me equivoqué.
Oh, I said
La
that
misma
wrong.
persona con dos nombres,
It's the same person with two different names.
entonces están trabajando como en dos lugares al mismo tiempo.
So they're working in two different places at the same time.
Y lo peor de todo es que como no tienen documentos,
And the worst thing is that since they do not have documents,
no les preocupa.
they don't worry about it.
En cambio, nosotros que tenemos documentos legales nos preocupamos por seguir las reglas.
But we who have documents, we are concerned about following the rules.
Es
Gracias.
todo. Muchas
Thank you.
gracias.
That's all.
Thank you for your comment. Ernesto, would you like to respond?
Or do you want to su comento. No estábamos diciendo que hay nuevos trabajadores. Lo que pasó es hicimos o entrenamos nuevos trabajadores para los parkways. Todos los que estaban allí antes. Eso no se cambió. Entonces, los que están allí es una mezcla de gente que entrenaron primero y de los nuevos. Son una mezcla. La otra cosa, nosotros no somos los que hacen el E-Verify. Tú, si ya estás trabajando en la industria, tú sabes que es la responsabilidad de la contratista, no de la unión. Cuando uno, también como si tú te hiciste miembro de la unión, del local 300, tuviste que traer su tarjeta de seguro social, ¿verdad? Y tomamos una fotografía y todo eso. Es todo lo que pedimos. Si alguien no trae documentos que son reales, nosotros no hacemos E-Verify. Es la responsabilidad de la contratista. Y eso está en los contratos que DTSC y el gobierno federal, ellos requieren eso a las contratistas que están trabajando en estos proyectos. Igualmente, ¿a dónde iba? ¿Qué estabas preguntando? Ok, hay una mezcla, entonces hay muchos que están trabajando ahí. Gente que tienen los dos documentos que están trabajando. ¿Nos ha dicho eso? ¿Has venido a la unión a poner un grievance a decirnos? Nosotros no podemos hacer nada sin saber lo que está pasando. Es la cosa. O cuando la gente va al sitio, has hablado con él diciéndole, oye, esto está pasando. Porque Para decirle la verdad, ya sabemos que que están haciendo eso porque en investigar, cuando empezaron a preguntar muchos de los miembros de lo que está pasando con los trabajadores, encontramos uno que estaba haciendo eso. Pero ¿sabes qué? El que nos dijo no quiso venir a poner grievance.
Thank you,
That's why we
Ernesto.
asked.
Thank you, Ernesto.
And
We're
so,
out of time.
what can we do?
Madeline,
¿Qué
can you
podemos
please
hacer?
translate? Thank you.
So what we have is not new workers. What we have are people that were trained newly to work on the parkways. So it's a mixture of new and old people. And as far as E-Verify is concerned, we as a union do not E-Verify. That is the responsibility of the contractor. And you know when you come to the union that you just present your Social Security card and we take a photograph of that. And so we are not doing the E-Verify, and that's something that the federal government is asking. As far as the people that have two documents with two names, people have to make a grievance. We cannot do anything if we don't know. So we were aware of that situation, but when the worker who brought it up to us, we found that they did not file a grievance, so that's all we can do.
Thank you, Madeline. We'll take one more question from the audience.
English or Spanish?
English. Can I? Oh, hello. My name is Carlos Garcia. I just want to make a comment real quick. There's a lot of us. I'm a community worker that we've been working in the project almost 7 years. I'm also a U.S. veteran, and my only concern and opinion is that, I mean, I've never been laid off, and there is a lot of us that, you know, we have a lot of experience here. We get the work done, and I noticed that some of us, personally not me, but maybe some people might feel targeted that they are being pushed aside because within the company, we notice like a lot of nepotism. I mean, we people from the community, the state pay for the school to go, and the company, they, you know, they bring in a lot of like family members, like from other, like Long Beach, Bakersfield, and personally, I don't really care what's the legal status of anybody, but since someone from the community brought that up about the ICE, I mean, there is people like me that I'm a U.S. Navy and U.S. Army veteran. Like, if we will be working, we don't have that worry about, you know. And I mean, if the project want to be successful, they should give priority to people that they don't have any issue about that. So that's all I want to. That's my comment. That's it.
Thank you for your comment.
Lee tried to get in the first round, and she's trying to get in again. So.
Hello, my name is Karen Noga. I live in Boyle Heights, and my question is actually about the Exide project cleanup, a real question that we're here for. And I understand the workers are valid questions, but this is totally about the cleanup. I would like to know, as my fellow residents and neighbors in Boyle Heights, what's going on with the cleanup of the parkways in Boyle Heights. What is the status? By now, I see by your slides there was an option for sod or the green stuff, but we're only getting that little green, whatever that stuff is, put on our parkways. That option was made for us. Although originally we did have the choice of sod. The only people who are getting sod are the people who paid for it, installed it already in their lawns. When is the green foam stuff going to be installed? Since the parkways were cleaned, they are dirt. Now there are lots of weeds growing in all those parkways, so they're no longer empty. They're full of weeds. Parking is very difficult in Boyle Heights. Many people use the sides of their driveways to park. So when it did rain, many of the cars, as they pulled out, they made huge divots, and then there's like lines of dirt on the street, and it will be raining next week heavily. So again, people park the same way. There's no parking, and there'll be huge divots coming out of the parkways, and there'll be the same dirt in the streets. So how are you going to put the grass on if there's these big divots in our parkways? So what's the solution for that? That's my question.
Thank you for your
And all my
comment.
neighbors want an answer for this too.
Yes. Thank you very much, and I do greatly appreciate that, bringing that concern to our attention. We do have a city permit with the City of LA, and we have completed the excavation, and the rains, there's compaction with the parkways, and the rains had some issues, so they had to go back with the city inspector and compact all the parkways that remained. And the hydroseed that you mentioned, the green stuff, is being applied today and tomorrow. And if there's anything else that are outstanding issues, as we previously stated, please call us on the hotline or online, and we'll address it. And we're here to help. Then go online then, if that's the case. The feedback, the Exide cleanup feedback management system. Or if you wish, you can contact me directly. It's perfectly fine, not a problem. And you have my information, or I can get that to you for you. Okay? Yes, we do ask for your patience. Because of the rain, we were delayed with the restoration, which is the green stuff that you mentioned, or the hydroseed. And we can go from there. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Understood, and Danya is here. If Danya will provide you that information. We have handouts already outside, and I can get that to you. If you just call me or email me, I'll be more than happy to provide those for you as well.
Thank you, Stephen. We will go to the virtual portion of tonight's meeting now. Valisa, do we have any online attendees with questions or comments?
Yes, we have a question from Andres G. Andres, please unmute your line and ask your question. Andres, are you there?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I am wanted to clarify a question regarding a gentleman of the community came forward regarding previous business with the Exide Cleanup Project about nepotism, and there was more to, I believe, the comment that or question that he made. It seems like maybe some community members are not understanding what it was that was regarding to, and if it could please be re-elaborated. And I do want to thank the community members that have shown up and are here present and asking questions, getting the information, as well as those that are on joining us with the community and the staff of the Cleanup Project virtually. It's really important. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Andres.
Thank you, Valisa. We do have a time check, and we need to go into the next presentation now. Laura?
Real quick,
Yes.
I just want to express on DTSC's behalf for Dr. Wells and what the third-party monitor does. I just want to clarify, if it wasn't obvious already, that this is an independent observation of what we are doing, and I just want to express that, you know, he's pointing out situations, he and his staff, where we are not, where we need to improve. We take this extremely seriously. And it's an iterative process when we hear back from Dr. Wells and his staff. So I just wanted to express gratitude in that holding us accountable, and also let folks know that we do take it seriously, and we want to improve our work and our job going forward. So just want to make that clear to everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Than. Now we would like to welcome and introduce Mr. Edwin Cipollonelli, Assistant Director of the U.S. EPA Region 9 at the Southern California Field Office, who will provide an update on the Exide Superfund status. Chip, next slide, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chip Cipollonelli. As I said, I'm the Assistant Director for Superfund here in Southern California. Next slide. You can keep going. One more. Thank you. So I'm here today to provide an update on two things. What is Superfund and what is the process and what we do to get a site cleaned up if a site is added to the NPL list or the Superfund program. Also to give you an update on where we are with the proposed listing of the facility. Next slide. So as you can see here, this is what the Superfund process is, and it involves several aspects. First, the assessment, and that's where we're at right now, is we've already defined that there's contamination. We've looked at the data that we've collected, the data that I have to say our partners have helped us collect with DTSC, and we have proposed it to be added to the NPL list. That's the first part. So we are currently now in the proposed listing evaluation stage. If the site is added to the NPL, we'd go on to characterization. And an important point here is the characterization involves pretty extensive sampling. It could involve removing structures, looking under structures, looking at soil, look at soil gas, groundwater. So it's pretty extensive, but I have to say that the partnership between DTSC and EPA over the last several years has been really good. We have data, we have a better understanding than normally we do walking on a site if a site's listed. We have groundwater data, we have soil gas data. All the operational buildings that were contaminated have been removed. That gives us a great advantage if this site is added to the NPL to hit the ground running. What would lead to next is a record of decision, which is what is going to be the remedy? How do we clean it up? We do extensive evaluations of what is the contamination, it's not just, is it groundwater contaminated? We did propose the site on groundwater, but that doesn't mean we stop there. We would look at soil, lead contamination, other contaminations, and then what is the best remedy? Is there a remedy needed? And how do we move forward? Then we design the remedy, take remedial action. That could be removal of soil. That could be stabilizing soil. It could be removing the volatiles in the soil, in the gas. There's many different options, and that's what we look at. And then, what everybody wants is we want to get post-construction and NPL deletion. So that is the overall process if this site is listed where we will go. Now, next slide. Where are we at in the proposed listing process? And all the green squares have been what we've completed. We have evaluated it to see if the site qualifies for NPL listing. It does. We then get state concurrence. The state has concurred. We public noticed the proposed listing, went to a 60-day public comment period, and we have an extra step here that we did. We received pretty extensive comments, both in favor. We received a lot of favorable comments, but we also received extensive technical opposition comments and questions. That led us to write a pretty lengthy technical memo that addressed those concerns, respond to those concerns, and we also went out with a 30-day public comment period because it looked at data that wasn't presented initially in the listing, and that was a good thing. It made us look a little harder. It made us make sure that we had a solid case and an argument for the listing process. So where we are right now is we're briefing our senior leaders. We're compiling the response to questions. And go to the next slide, please. Right, that's where we are right now. We have not made a final decision, a final rule decision. That is a headquarters decision and process. So they work closely with the Region 9 here, and myself and the team that's working on this. And we will continue to brief leaders and work on the response to comments. Next slide. Sorry. Should you have questions, I've listed the team here, myself. There's contact information for myself, the site assessment manager who is in charge of NPL listing and that section and that team. Leslie Ramirez, who is our NPL coordinator, can answer questions about process. And then our community involvement coordinator, David Yogi. So thank you. I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Chip. Now we will return to the clarifying questions and public comments period. Yes. First, we will start with our questions or comments from our in-person attendees. And we have a comment from Councilmember Nancy Martis.
Before we do, we wanted to announce our council member, Nancy Martis. She wanted to make a quick comment. Come on. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for being here on a Thursday night, to all the staff and the community members. Thank you for coming to Huntington Park. I've been following the Exide case for the last 10 years. I gave public comment when our federal government was also approving the bankruptcy of Exide, and I understood at that time that that was transitioning the responsibility of the cleanup from a corporation to the state of California and to the people. It's very important to hear what residents and community members want to see out of this project. You know, we had this environmental catastrophe in our backyard, and as a resident of Huntington Park, it's impacted all of us. I hear every day from community members who have family members or friends who just got diagnosed with cancer after their father got diagnosed with cancer. So this is a problem that is continuing to impact our community, and I think there's opportunity to do better. You know, I've only joined the HP City Council in the last year, and even with the seeding and replacing grass, my thoughts went straight into why are we not doing native landscapes? You know, why are we not thinking outside the box? Why are we doing grass? And so I hope that this is an opportunity for you all to get to know not just Huntington Park, but East and Southeast LA residents, and we can do better, right? Just because this catastrophe happened in our backyard, it doesn't mean that we have to drop the ball, and I think there's room for improvement. And I'll be here, and I'll be continuing to advocate for the residents and for all of us as community members. So thank you all for being here.
Now, please raise your hand, and we will have Josh or Dion come with the microphone. Okay, Josh.
Hello. Okay, so the question is for Mr. Stephen Herrera. Actually, it's broken down into 2 questions. Going back to the presentation on retro sampling, I wonder if they include properties that didn't meet the state goals of 80 particles per million on the cleanups. And the second one, what follow-up is expected on these properties that didn't meet the California's limits?
Can you repeat the second question, please, sir?
Does the DTSC plan to add a second round of cleanups on lots that did not meet California's lead limits?
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And what we've done is we are just right now sampling all the homes that we cleaned up based on retrospective or whether or not it was verification sampling. That's being the 1,300 some odd homes for verification. And then retrospective is 100 out of about 4,000 homes that we've cleaned up. Therefore, once we do get the results, we're going to look at those, but we don't have those yet that I shared, and then we'll make that determination at that time. As far as the subsequent action to be taken, it's still, we have to analyze and see what the data shows, and then we can make that determination at that time as well. So we ask for your patience while we have all the data coming in and the results, and then we can look at them. And the reason is we started last April, and we have just completed that effort, so the reports are going to come in. So it'll be released in batches, but we won't be able to take it the whole set to make that decision, which is going to take a bit longer. So we ask for your patience and understanding. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen. And we will now go to Dion's microphone. Dion? I'm going to give it 1 second to allow Madeline to come in.
Laura, if you don't mind, very quick.
Oh, yes.
And I think this request requires a little bit of a clarification. If you go back to the 2017 cleanup plan, which is the master document we're using, and it's important because that document was publicly approved, vetted. We had 6 public meetings following the release of the draft before it was approved. That draft anticipated certain limitations. We're hearing that the work was incomplete or not complete, and that the sampling will show exactly what was done and whether we have fully complied with the plan or not, because that's the question at stake. That plan anticipated limitations. I'll give you an example. You're digging, you want to dig to 12 inches, and suddenly at 9 inches you hit a line. There is a gas line, and there is no way you're going to touch that gas line, because the risk of touching that gas line is much greater than having to leave that sliver of soil, although there is a little bit of lead on top of it. However, after the excavation is done at the level that we have achieved and the gas line is encountered, we put a cap, a barrier with clean soil. The soil is certified clean, and that's what the removal action has called all along. And we needed to clarify this because we don't want the misrepresentation to carry on. It's very important to understand that we do have limitations. You can't dig under a house, you can dig under a sidewalk, you cannot dig under the trees, and some of the trees, believe it or not, are older than the people who bought these homes, and they love them sometimes more than their own kids. So we try to prevent certain things from being disturbed, and we're looking at that risk. The study that's being conducted currently with DTSC has a very particular goal. Did we really comply with that 2017 plan, or did we deviate? When we are done with the study, we can actually, we will be extremely transparent. We are going to be working with the Exide Technology Advisory Group members. We owe them that transparency. We have committed to that, and we will be releasing the data as it becomes available, like we said, by batches. Between now and March, we're going to start releasing the data. But I think it was important to set at least that clarification so everybody understand if there is an exceedance, that's because we have physical limitations. We don't want the tree to fall on the house. We don't want the house to collapse. We have retaining walls. We don't want them to fall apart. So we're doing the excavation to the maximum extent, but whatever happens, we cover the excavation area with clean, certified soil to make sure that we have a barrier that prevents that direct exposure. I hope that helps. And as to the ATPPM, there is also another clarification. The ATPPM is a state standard, and what was in the work plan was very clear. It says that all properties at ATPPM or above will be considered for cleanup. That's what's in the work plan. That's where the ATPPM is coming from. It's a screening level.
Thank you, Mehdi. We will now transition over to Dion's microphone. Por favor.
Buenas noches, soy Yesenia López.
Good
Soy,
evening. I am Yesenia Lopez.
soy voluntaria de CB.
I'm a CB volunteer.
Dice, ¿cómo afectan los cierres gubernamentantes
And this is about how the government shutdowns are affecting us,
al programa
how it affects the program,
Superfondo? ¿Habrá?
how it affects the Superfund listings program.
¿Habrá suficientes fondos
Will there be enough funds?
y apoyo
And will there be enough support
para limpiar Exide
to be able to clean properly
a las comunidades
in the communities
aledañas, dada la la postura de la nueva administración?
and that is with respect to the position of the new administration
Sobre la justicia ambiental.
and their position on environmental justice.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Chip?
Coming through. Can you guys hear me? Okay, there we go. In regards to the government shutdown, yes, we did have a government shutdown. Has that had an impact on our ability to move forward with our Superfund process? It didn't, because in the Superfund program, most of our staff continued to work. Because we have a new funding source. The Superfund, in many cases in the past, was funded by appropriated dollars or money provided by Congress. We now have what's called the Superfund tax. And that tax is a new budgetary mechanism for Superfund. So that helps us to sustain our program. If Exide, the facility of Exide is added to the NPL, there's many different sources of money. We have money that comes from the Superfund tax. There's money that comes from enforcement efforts. And, our position at Superfund is we are here to address some of the worst sites in the nation. And we also take a very firm, aggressive enforcement to hold those polluters accountable. And if there are polluters that are accountable, we go after those polluters and those responsible parties to find money to help clean up. So I couldn't guarantee whether there's enough money, because budgets change, but we do have mechanisms beyond just the Superfund tax. We also take enforcement very seriously, and the polluter pays. That's the fundamental principle of Superfund.
Thank you, Chip. And we're going to do a time check since we're almost at 8 o'clock. So, I'm sorry, Mehdi?
It's working. It is working. A clarification, because there was a second part to that question that relates to the residential cleanup. Just for a clarification, we are currently funded to continue to work with 15 crews, and that work started, I believe, in January. So we should be able to continue with the current funding that we have received for 25-26. We should be able to continue all the way to December 26. There's also another good news, but I don't want to jinx it. There is a proposed budget, and it's a public document, so we can at least announce what's publicly available, that is proposing $70 million for fiscal year 26-27, and another $70 million for fiscal year 27-28. And that will ensure continuity of the residential cleanup, which is going concurrently and happening concurrently with the NPL listing. So I can reassure you, we don't intend to stop or interrupt the residential cleanup at this point. We will continue with these 15 crews if the new budget is proposed beyond December 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehdi. And since it's almost 8, we're going to do one more in-person hand raised and going to pass it over to Josh. Fernando.
Thank you so much. I know the time is very important. I want to just thank to Ernesto and Layula. They helped me a lot, and my family and the community members. But also, it's very important the point that Mark makes to clarify about the employees that is really out of work. And I think it's a good chance to do something in between to work on that. And I want to thank Catherine Badripur to be here. I really appreciate also the ETAC. But the most important thing also I would like to mention for the EPA, I think it's not time to push it right now about the super fund money because you know this administration. So we have to be sincere. We have to wait until the administration ends and we can continue on that and fight for those funds back to California. And I would like to say thank you to also to the HP a council member that is present here. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sorry for your mom being passed about cancer problems because of this contamination. And a lot of people that are contaminated because this contamination over not just Huntington Park, many cities. And that's why I appreciate that all the work that they've been doing very good job. And those workers that are now working right now, they basically, like my colleague member, he says he's working like at his own house. Please give an opportunity to those good employees to go back to work and do the job right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fernando. And now I'm going to pass it to Luis with Local 300.
Sorry, guys. Thank you. Thank you guys for being here, members of the public, awarding bodies, and our members more than anybody here. I want to make it just, closing statements just in general to reiterate the fact that we have in-house a dispatching system to avoid any favoritism, nepotism. Members are put to work based on their qualifications, and we have made this clear from the get-go. We currently have members that are now fortunate enough to be on this project. They were for a number of years. They have the opportunity to come to the hall, get on the out of work list, and get dispatched to other projects that are available. As Ernesto mentioned earlier, this project was a pathway to a career, and that's what has been all this time, right? So with the dispatching rules, with a membership in place, come to the hall, get on the out of work list, make sure your certifications are up to date, because without those certifications, you can't go work elsewhere. So if you guys have any questions, you guys have our contact information, reach out. You guys know where we're at. Come and visit us, talk to us. Be more than happy to help you guys.
Thank you, Luis. We will now check in with Valisa in the virtual portion. Valisa, do we have any comments?
Yes, we have a question from ETAG member Rania Sapti. Rania, go ahead and unmute your line and state your question or ask your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Rania.
Hi, sorry I can't be there in person tonight. My question actually goes back to Dr. Jim Wells' presentation. I didn't, I raised my hand, but there was no time for it. So if you all don't mind, I'd like to go there. It goes back to, I think, one of the earlier slides that Dr. Wells shared with a graph. It was a histogram. And if that slide could be pulled up, it'd be great. I do want to point something out and ask a question because I think the public needs to hear that information. Yeah, let's go back. It's a histogram, so it's got bars. So let's go back. More. Yeah. And Dr. Wells, here it looks like health and safety issues are quite minimal compared to the ops plan issues. Please correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that the health and safety plan is to protect workers that are on the job, health and safety issues as well as exposures to lead and so on. The ops includes procedures to protect residents from exposure, such as dust suppression.
That,
And so
that's largely right, Rania. Yeah, I mean, there's a good bit of overlap, but one way to think about that is the operations plan is about doing a thorough cleanup, about leaving the site safe, and the health and safety plan is about keeping workers and residents safe during the actual cleanup activity.
Great, thank you. And so I wanted to point that out, that there are health and safety issues associated with that large green bar. It just is a different kind of health and safety issues. I didn't want the graph to be misleading folks. That
I appreciate that, Rania. It certainly wasn't meant to be misleading, and that's right. It's really all about leaving these properties safe. The ops plan is really more about long-term protectiveness, and the health and safety plan is really more about the few days when workers are out there and encountering in such a significant way the contaminated soil. So that's fair. That's a good way to think about it.
Thank you for your question, Rania. Thank you, Jim. I'm going to pass it back to you, Laura.
Thank you. And since we are running out of time, if you have any questions or further comments, please send us an email to exide@dtsc.ca.gov or drop your question and comment in the Q&A board as well. Thank you, everyone, for your questions and comments. We will now transition back to our presentation. Next slide, please.
Thank you. We have included contact information for DTSC and supporting agencies to the Exide Residential Cleanup Project. This information will be posted on our chat as well. DTSC Exide Cleanup Project Information Hotline, Los Angeles County Department of Public Health Blood Lead Screen Hotline, Cal OSHA Workplace Complaint Hotline, Air Quality Management District. Next slide, please. Community members who would like to ask additional questions, report issues, or leave comments relating to the Exide cleanup effort, please use the Exide feedback management system, which can be accessed via the direct link at feedback.exide.dtsc.ca.gov. Or you can simply scan the QR code with your smart device on the screen to be directed to the site. Next slide, please. We would like to thank our presenters for tonight's updates and information. Stephen Hariri, Branch Chief of DTSC, Dr. Jim Wells, Contract Manager for LEA Environmental Inc., Edwin Polinelli, Assistant Director, US EPA Region 9. Additionally, we would like to thank tonight's meeting translators for their Spanish interpretation services this evening. Next slide, please. This concludes our Exide Public Hybrid Meeting presentations for this evening. Thank you to all community members in person and online for joining us this evening. Please welcome back Director Butler, who will be providing closing remarks.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of your comments tonight. I think our Deputy Director, Than Berg, said it best earlier in response to Dr. Wells' presentation. We do take seriously the feedback loops that we have. We have multiple feedback loops in place, really quality control mechanisms so that DTSC can continue to improve, DTSC continues to learn, and in real time we have to stay vigilant every day on this project so that we continue that trajectory. We heard many comments from the workers about worker prioritization. Thank you for sharing those tonight. We will continue to work with our contractors, with the unions to ensure fair practices and compliance with the project labor agreements. We have so many feedback loops in place, the ETAG, our Exide working group, and we also heard tonight about the verification and retrospective sampling, which is just another mechanism to ensure that we are following the protocols on the ground. And if we're not, we're going to take that feedback seriously and we'll course correct. So thank you again for bringing your comments, your questions tonight, spending time with us. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Director Serlene Grant for one last note.
After that, I really have nothing else to say. Thank you all for joining us. My role with DTSC is the environmental justice and public participation. We hold these meetings so that we can hear from you. We hold these meetings so that we can be accountable, so you can tell us what's going right and what's going wrong. We try to move them in different locations throughout the project area so that we can get to people who may not be able to get to us. But all the screens that showed how to get in contact with us do lead to real people. And for those of you in this project area, the people who have been running this meeting, Eric, Laura, Dion, Rico, Valessa, Freddie, Eric is, I'm sorry, not Eric, Kenneth. Kenneth is out there. These people work in your neighborhoods every day. Every day. They're not in the office, they're in the neighborhoods with you all. So when you see them make a comment, that comment comes to us and we will respond. Thank you all for being here this evening.
Thank you, Director Butler, and thank you, Director Grant. Next slide, please. We would like to thank our DTSC staff, our contractor support staff, the Ghirardelli team, our interpretation services, and our audiovisual team. Next slide, please. Once again, we thank the City of Huntington Park for their continued support and for hosting our meeting this evening. We would also like to thank the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health for providing resources. Thank you all for joining us in person, via phone, and virtually on Zoom. The online meeting will remain open for 2 minutes to allow participants to copy information from the chat. Everyone, please get home safe and have a great evening.